I gotta start like finding ways to not shorten these videos because that's not the point that I'm going for. I'm actually going for elongating my videos because I have a lot to say, but sometimes I just don't even have a set idea of what I want to say, and it kind of comes out as a jumbled mess. So I do have like documents, I have my Google Keep notes, I have all those things ready so that just in case I want to say something, I say it. But the problem is, like, when I try to read off of something, it sounds very robotic. It doesn't sound smooth whatsoever, and I like to sound smooth. Like, I like it to sound like we're having a conversation, like somebody's in here and I'm having a conversation with them. It really does help with my after getting schizophrenia and after figuring out that I could talk to myself. I i found it much easier to have that setting with myself where it's just like, all right, no music, no television, just me talking to myself and just like getting all my ideas out there and helping myself think a little bit more. I think that solitude is a very important thing. Some people go their whole lives. Some people go their whole lives without knowing what solitude is about. And so let's talk about the first topic, solitude. Let me pull this up from what I've been doing. So when I got my own apartment, um, that was the first time that I was quiet with myself. That was the first time that I had a space of solitude. And I believe that it is so important for us to figure these things out that it happens to us one way or another. Like, we're not sure what our bodies need. We're not sure what these species needs. We've been told what we needed our whole life, that we need to go to school and learn, and we need to be around people and learn how to deal with people. But nobody ever tells you that, hey, maybe you should take some time out of your life to be in solitude. Like, they'll tell you something extreme. They'll be like, all right, how about you go and be a monk for a year and learn to meditate. And you're just like, I don't want to be a monk. And I'm just here to tell you that you don't need to do that whatsoever. You don't. You can do it a modern way. Like, you can have all your electronics, you can have your car, you can have a job, you can have all these things, but the type of job that you have to get will be a little bit different versus what's given to us. So it wouldn't work if you worked in corporate. It wouldn't work if you worked in a supermarket. It wouldn't work if you worked in a warehouse. You would have to work as an independent contractor and as a delivery driver, or and not a taxi cab driver, not somebody that drives people around, because you're still interacting with a person. But the best type of um, non-interaction that you can have is by delivering food with Instacart and Uber Eats, limiting the amount of people that you interact with. Because, like, for Instacart, for example, like, you're saying, okay, but that's going into a store. Isn't that interacting with people? Yes, that can be interacting with people, but you got to think that you can go to the self scan. You can go to the self scan, and then you don't have to talk to a cashier. Um, and you're walking around the store, and as long as you are like, I'm not going to ask anybody for help, I know what I'm doing, that's what you should be doing on the app. Like, you should be going on the app and going to stores that have the aisles labeled for you, not that you're randomly looking around for these different items. Like, that's very frustrating. I don't know why anybody would ever want to do that, and they need to fix that, because some supermarkets, they don't have a blueprint. They don't have anything. So they're like, all right, get these mushrooms, and you're like, where's the mushrooms? It says produce. So you're running around in produce trying to look for these mushrooms, and it's not telling you. It's not saying aisle A, aisle 12, aisle 36B. Like, it's not telling you anything, and you're just sitting there looking for it. So be very smart with your time. There are people that will go shopping for people in H Mart. There are people out there that will do it, but you've got to be smarter than that, and we have to demand more respect from these different companies to be like, can you organize your stuff? Like, why am I going in your store and I'm confused? Why do I have to ask everybody for help? And everybody knows that if you go into H Mart, the one down by Route 27, they're all Mexicans or Spanish people, and they're working in a Chinese food store. A lot of them don't speak the language, or a lot of them, they don't communicate well. So you're asking them, like, where's this mushroom at? And they're going to be like, oh, it's somewhere over there. Or they'll be like, I don't know. If you get lucky, they'll be like, oh, it's right there. And then you'll get the thing. But yeah, Instacart, Uber Eats, specifically Uber Eats, not Uber Travel, not Uber Taxi. And you can also do TaskRabbit as well. You can, what TaskRabbit does is that it isolates the amount of people that you see. So, yes, you might be going into someone's house, and the most people that you'll meet is like 5 people for that whole day. And then you'll go home to your place, and then you'll have that peace. People are very scared of it. People are scared of solitude, because we're taught so many times that, hey, if you're alone, bad things can happen, and they scare you. They scare the shit out of you into thinking that you need to have somebody there with you. So they pair us up. They don't allow us to do anything individually. But once you start figuring out ways to start doing things individually by yourself, you'll be much, much happier. Much happier. Like, you can make a living off Instacart, bro. You can make a living off Instacart and Uber Eats and TaskRabbit. You can make a living off of it. You do not have to work at Amazon warehouse. Like, those are for, unfortunately, those are for like immigrants. Those are for people that are just coming into the country. That's for the first generation. That's where the first generation comes in. They come from a different country. They want to work. They know a little bit of English. That's who works at those warehouses. It's not made for an American child. It sounds pretty messed up to say that maybe they would find their peace there. Like, maybe there's a person that really likes the warehouse, but I doubt that there is anybody out there, especially if you were to give them a choice, because a lot of these people, they don't have choices. They just go in, they do what they need to do, and then they're out. So, so I asked Gemini, I was like, you know what? I've read somewhere that solitude makes an individual strong, and you are given time to think things through. And it agreed with me. The idea of solitude can make an individual stronger. Providing time for reflection is a valid one. Spending time alone can indeed foster self-awareness, introspection, and the development of a stronger sense of self. So, you have increased self-awareness, you have enhanced creativity, and you're probably asking me, like, how did I start to think this whole thing through, where it's just like, okay, I do want to start filming, and I do want to start recording myself, and I do want to, I don't want to work unnecessary amount of hours. You know what I mean? Like, how did I get to this point where it's like I'm at peace, where it's like I don't feel like I have to go to work. I have to work. Like, I'm okay with what I'm given. You know, the world kind of directed me into this position where it's just like, dude, you don't need to work, okay? You'll feel like you need to work, but you do not need to work, especially with the disease that you have. I don't like to call it a disease. I like to call it powers. I really think that we should change that around. But are you going to keep fighting it? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be like, no, I need a job. I need a job. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a car. It doesn't matter if I can't drive. It doesn't matter if I freak out in intersections. I'm going to drive to work, or I'm going to walk to work. And unfortunately, I was in that mindset where it's just like, I feel like I need to work. I need to go to work. I need to I need to provide for myself. I need to make $2,000 a month. Um, I need a car. I need insurance. I need my own place to live. Like, how did I step back and really think about, what I'm essentially doing? And that was a lot of that peacefulness comes from me living alone, not interacting with people. Is very hard to do. Like, if you don't make, if you only make $2,000 a month, it's going to be very hard for you to have that independence. But it's very possible. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get your own apartment, this is where the problem starts, because you look at the prices of apartments and you're just like, I can't afford it. But you probably can afford it. You just have to look around. Now, that's the problem. I'm thinking, as I'm talking, I'm thinking about it. When people sign you up for an apartment, they look at your income and they see that you only make, let's say, okay, let's say you make only $2,000 a month. They're going to see that you make $2,000 a month. They're going to tell you that you cannot afford an apartment that rents for $1,500 a month. They're going to look at how much you get paid. They're going to look at your credit score. Even if your credit score is phenomenal, they're going to be like, I don't think you can pay for this apartment. You need, I think it needs to be a third of your income or half of your income. So in order to afford a $1,500 apartment, you would need to make $3,000 a month. Now, here's a trick that I will tell you. If I was in your position and I'm listening to this and I'm just like, okay, this kid is telling me that solitude is a great thing and this is how he has found peace within himself. He's telling me that I need to find an apartment, that I need to get a job like Uber Eats or Instacart, and really just, even though you're living paycheck to paycheck, you will be comfortable. How do I do that? So Instacart and Uber Eats, you got to realize, and TaskRabbit, you got to realize that you can move around wherever you need to be. So if you need to go down to Newark, You can go down to Newark, do a little bit more research, and can you move down to Nevada? Can you move to Oregon? Do you need to move to California? Maybe not California, but you know what I mean. Like, where should you be moving for you to be comfortable? It's very hard to sit down and really think about this stuff. So I really wish I had a person that sat down with me and was like, look, listen, I know you want to work with cannabis, okay? You want to work with cannabis, but the only legal place around here to work on with cannabis is California and Oregon, okay? You have those two states. So before we get into cannabis, how about we try to figure out how to get you there healthily. I don't know if that's the right word. And the answer would be, you know, it's like, okay, that's what we should have been doing. Sorry, I'm going to go off topic a little bit there. That's what we should be doing. Like, we should have like places like schools basically for you to be like, what do you want to work with? Okay, I want to work as a technician. I want to work as an HVAC technician. I want to work as a car technician. Okay, I want to work as a nurse, as a doctor. So they have everything else set up for everybody else. They have that stuff set up for everybody else, but they don't have that for individuals that are looking to work with Schedule One substances. They don't have that for us. They make us go out on the street. They kick us out on the street. You know what I mean? Like that's essentially how um, we've been treated. So, all right, I went a little bit off topic. That's a great topic to talk about, though. I think that's a great topic to talk about and to go into because that's what I'm really passionate about. But you know, Instacart, Uber Eats, you can go anywhere. You can go anywhere that you want to go. Not anywhere. Strategically, you can go to different places. So you're probably going to have to you're going to find yourself going down south because it's cheaper living. The house for apartments is cheaper. But you got to remember this, there is a South Jersey, okay? There there is a South. I don't have the world map on me. I should have the world map somewhere around here. You know what I mean? Like, you know how they have those world maps in schools where you just pull it down and it's just this huge world map. I should definitely let me write that down. I have this document where I write everything down. I call it invention ideas, but this is not an invention. This is just an idea that I have. Idea get world map. I have a we have a globe downstairs that I can go and look at, but not of the American nation. Um, my thing is like, why are we making our kids memorize all these things and calling it school when literally you can buy them a world map and be like, here, bring this to your home, set it up somewhere in your home. This is what you need. You know, what type of house do you have? Do you live in a house? Do you live in an apartment? Do you have a blackboard? Do you have a whiteboard? How big is your room? Get the square footage of your room, and let's plan out how to set up your room. Another great topic. Let me write that down. I'm starting to work on my book as well. Okay, and I have a whole document page set up for, I call it inspiration. What schools should teach you how to set up your room. Like, what we do is that we take these students and we're like, all right, here's a science class. And in science class, you're using a microscope and you're using, this is not astrology, but you're using a microscope and you're using beakers and tubes, and it doesn't apply to your life. It just feels like somebody else's life. So they need to start being like, okay, guys, get the square footage of your room. Nobody knows how to do square footage. Like, you tell a person, how do you find the square feet of this room? And then there's going to be a right angle in the room, and you're going to be like, I don't know how to do it. And nobody knows that you have to take the length times height, I think it is. No, length times width. See, even I question it. Get your length times width. But what were we talking about? We were talking about solitude. So yeah, how did I get to this point of peacefulness? I found solitude, and I found it in New Jersey. How did I do it? I found an apartment that was $600 a month. And what this apartment was, it was a separate location. It was a separate apartment in a townhouse. So you had a room downstairs. Granted, it was infested with bugs. Infested with bugs. No wonder it was on the market. I don't know how long it was on the market for, but the landlord told me that somebody else used to live there for about two 2 years, I think. He said for a really long time. He was like 2 years he's been here. I was like, wow, really? And then when I started living in there, I started seeing the ants. I didn't say anything at first because I was like, this is my space. I'm going to keep up with this space. So I got bug spray and I was fighting the ants. And it was like fighting demons, honestly, bro. I was fighting demons as well. But that's what I found in New Jersey, and it was separate from everybody else. It wasn't a room within the house. It was in a townhouse, and there was a separate bottom room that could have been used for storage, uh, but they had a garage as well. So it was really weird. Like, what was that room for? No idea. No idea. Like, if you were to buy that townhouse and you were like, what's that room for? I would have been like, I don't know, bro. But it costs $600 a month, you know, a very doable thing. So Instacart pays about $10 to $17 an hour. Uh, so how much do they pay? Let's do this real quick. I made $200 in 12 hours. So the pay was about $16.66, 67 cents. So you get paid minimum wage, $1 over minimum wage in Instacart. So the minimum wage in New Jersey is $15. So they pay you minimum wage. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. You won't be too happy about it, but I've seen my mother work for $15 an hour, but she worked two jobs. So she's working two jobs at $15 an hour, and she's making ends meet. You, I'm telling you, in this life, you do not need much money. That is a pure fact that nobody really knows about. You know what I mean? Like, they always throw it in your face. They're like, you need money, you need money, you need money. And you're just like, okay, I need money, I need money, I need money. So you're just money hungry. And I see that in my friends. I see that in my parents. I see that in my siblings. I see that in my exes, oh my gosh. I see that in everyone. I see that in stars. I see that in animators. You can see it everywhere. People are like, you need money, and they are just like, yes, we need money. So they're money hungry. But your best ideas come from, we're going to keep it simple, it comes from solitude. It comes from independence. So there is solitude and there is independence. And if you are able to find one or the other, you will be much more happier. So what it said was, let's go back to Gemini. So increase self-awareness completely. That's definitely true. You will figure out what you like to eat in solitude, and with a little bit of money, you'll figure out the best foods that you like to eat. You'll figure out the music that you like to listen to. You'll figure out the stuff that you like to buy. What specifically do you like to invest your money in? All of those things will start to bloom because distractions are limited. You know, if you're living in solitude, what you're doing is, that means that your money is going towards the rent. Your money is going towards your food. Your money is going towards subscriptions. Your money is going towards your car. Your money is being allocated. It's being used. And a lot of people will never figure out how that feels because they're too afraid to move out of their parents' house, or they're too afraid to get rid of their partner that's not doing well for them. Like, their partner is just like, they're stealing money from them, you know, they're treating them badly, they're cheating on them. I said stealing money from them, but like, I mean, stealing money, like, bro, I could be making a lot of money, but you're holding me back. You're holding me back. Enhance creativity. It goes with the music. You'll start to see what type of music that you like to listen to. Like I'm telling you, it reduces stress and anxiety by disconnecting from external pressures and social demands. So with the amount of money that you're making, you won't be like, all right, let's go out tonight. Let's go spend $120 to go out for a dinner. Let's go spend $120. Like, that stuff will have to stop. You'll have to limit the time that you are with your friends. You have to limit the times that you are with your family, because when you're alone like that, you will start to focus on yourself. This is where self-awareness comes in, uh, to reduce stress and anxiety. So you're not really looking even for a relationship. Like, yes, you will be a little bit lonely, but it won't be that bad, because what people don't realize is that they go into relationships for independence. Notice how that doesn't make sense. They go into a relationship looking for independence from their parents, from their friends. What a lot of people do is that they find a partner and then they close off everybody else. That's essentially what they do, because they're looking for independence, and they think that they found it because now they have a partner that goes have on them for everything. Even though, like I said, you do not need somebody else to make ends meet. And that is what a lot of people get stuck on. I'm telling you, it's it's crazy. People will get stuck on it and they will not know how to get out of that rut, because they are so scared of being alone. They are so scared of the stories that we're told. You watch news every day and you get so afraid to do anything. So what you try to do is you go to school, you hoard up as much money as you can possibly do. Like, yes, you're spending money on school, but you're looking for the best possible job that you can get out of school, and you find the best possible job that you can find. You're making six figures. and then you feel safe. But what have they taken away from you for that safety? Like I'm telling you, I've even told my therapist this. I was like, even if I was a doctor and I found Instacart, I would quit being a doctor to work for Instacart. And I would try to figure out what you would get from it. But you got to remember that these independent contractor jobs, they still allow you to get a 401k. People don't do these jobs because they're afraid that there's no safety net with it. You're allowed to get a 401k. I looked up TaskRabbit. I was like, can you have a 401k with TaskRabbit? Because I was making so much money on TaskRabbit. I was like, bro, this is legit. Like, this is an app. I was so blown away. Blown away. I was just like, this is an app, dude. Like, how is an app going to get me out of this rut? Like, I was so full-heartedly invested in this app. You know, I had nowhere else to turn. I couldn't keep doing warehouse jobs. I couldn't do a 9 to 5 inside of a supermarket. Like, it was a really bad thing where it's kind of like being claustrophobic. So I was claustrophobic of different places, and I didn't know what to do until I found Instacart, until I found Uber Eats. And it's kind of like they found me, but, you know, aside from that, so you get increased resilience. It's kind of, you got to look at life like it's a game. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a game. Like, you're reading this, you get a deeper connection. So, increased resilience, the ability to be comfortable with one's own company can foster resilience and the capacity to cope with challenges independently. You don't get that from anywhere else. You get a deeper connection. Ironically, some research indicates that solitude can actually improve your ability to connect with others by fostering self awareness and empathy. So, it's kind of like, really, it's like a game. Think about it like a game. It's like a hidden class that you can pick that nobody else picks because they're scared of what it can be. Like, you're playing a game and they say, here's the warrior, here's the archer, here's the magician, here is the thief, and here is a secret class. It could be any random character. And you're just like, I am going to pick the archer because I don't know what that random one is going to get me. And picking solitude is kind of like picking that random class. And when you get that random class, what it gives you is an upgraded version of an assassin. It gives you an upgraded version of a knight, a warrior. It gives you an upgraded version of it, but nobody knows that. So they all pick, okay, I'm going to pick the warrior class. I'm going to pick the archer class. I'm going to pick the thief, because they're scared of that random class. They're like, I don't want to chance it. I don't know what it's going to give me. And that random class gives you an upgraded version of one of those 5 things. And, so it's kind of like, what do you pick in this life? And if you watch my stuff, I try not to talk about cannabis as much because so, cannabis is a touchy topic, and it's even a touchy topic for me. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be really bad. What does it give you in life, though? Does it really help you out in life? Why do people do it? And that's a touchy subject. I'm going to make a video specifically for WeedTube that talks about weed in a different light. But right now, I'm just going to stay away from it because I'm very passionate about it and I think a certain way about it. I don't think that it's bad in any way. You know what I mean? let me check something real quick. I just want to make sure that my microphone is on. Okay, cool. You know, they should put that light in front of it so that you can see if you are recording or not. But I'm about to end this recording because that was a great talk about solitude, and I got some great stories in there. This one was way better than my last one that I just made. But yeah, unfortunately, life is like a game. And they say that life is like a simulation. And everybody has different theories. You know, life is like a simulation. Life is like, no, life is a simulation. And there's other things too. I'm not sure what other things are called. They say life is a simulation. What other theories? How do you spell theories? Are there? So there's solipsism. It's a theory posits. Theory posits. I've never heard of theory posits. I've never seen that word before. That existence of anything outside of its own mind is uncertain. There's anthropic principle. There's information as the fundamental substance. Some physicists propose that the reality is fundamentally informational rather than material. So that means that, you know, the world is basically made of ones and zeros. And that was a theory that a lot of people had as well. Computational irreducibility, this concept related to chaos theory, suggests that some systems, including complex ones like the universe, cannot be fully understood or predicted through simple calculations. You have to go through steps to see what happens. That's just like not knowing, you know, how we're going through steps. We're going through the Stone Age, and then we're going through the Metal Age, if that's even an age. And then we're going through the technological age. So there's no way to tell what is going to happen next. You know what I mean? That's basically what they're saying. The second law of infodynamics. The concept proposes that information entropy must remain constant or decrease over time, which physicists uses as evidence to support the idea of a simulated universe. So that's what the official name for it is, the second law of infodynamics. So pretty interesting. I want to talk about fame next. I love that topic. I want it to be a real topic that people talk about. Like, I think that we shove it under the rug and act like it's not real, but it is real. But solitude is very important. Very, very important. I believe that everybody should go through it, but a lot of people are scared to go through it. Like I said, people are not going to do it because they're going to look at you and tell you that you're an idiot and that you should try to make as much money as you can, because they're like, prepare for when you are old and you can't take care of yourself. But luckily I have like a little outing of that, but I'm not. I might as well talk about it. With schizophrenia, you have a lowered age. So the average age that people live right now is about 75 years old. But the average for a person with schizophrenia is 65. But that includes suicide. So suicide happens a lot around the age of 21. So I'm thinking that average got really put down by those suicides. So I want to know, if a person has schizophrenia throughout their life, how long will they live? If even like excluding suicides, like what does it do to the brain? The medication slowly kills you because it's making your liver work twice as hard as anything else. But yeah. So I've been betting on that I don't have to live for that long. Hopefully I don't have to live past 65. I think the average even went down to like 55 years old, but I have to double check that. But yeah, that was about Solitude. Highly suggest it. Don't become money hungry. Try not to become money hungry. And if you are smart and you can get a job that allows you to work remotely, even those remote jobs, they require you to come into work twice a week or once a week. And it requires you to have constant contact with somebody else. Whereas in Instacart and Uber Eats, if somebody asks you to ring their doorbell or wait for a code or something like that, that would be the negative part of working for Instacart and Uber. But you know, that's not what happens every single time, luckily. You know what I mean? Like most of the time you'll be by yourself and you'll find a way to get through those trials and tribulations. But highly suggest Instacart, Uber Eats, DoorDash. I highly suggest those jobs because there are a lot of people that even do those jobs and they try to steal from it and whatnot, and they don't do it right. They're using somebody else's account to work, and they're cracking down on it. But that should be the new entry level job for Americans that are born here. You know what I mean? Like, your parents shouldn't be like, how about you try to work at Amazon? That should never be a suggestion that comes out of their mouth. You do not want to work for Amazon. Amazon is very depressing. FedEx, very depressing. FedEx, UPS, Amazon, DHL, very depressing jobs to work at. If you can work as a driver, still depressing. Still depressing. It's so much work and they don't pay you enough for it. So if you are not going to pay me anything anyway, I might as well work $16 an hour for a company that allows me to use my own equipment and drive around and do what I need to do. Yeah, my sister's talking loud as hell. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. That was a good video on Solitude. I hope you guys like listen and you're just like, why is he pushing that so much? I push that in like almost every one of my videos, you know. But yeah, if you even made it this far, I doubt anybody's going to make it this far, which is hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, what I'll do, I'll have thousands of videos by the time that I'm done. I'm 30 years old now, and I have 30 more years of making content. And I make, on average, about like 3 or 4 videos a day. But like I said, I'm going to try to make them longer. I don't want them to be short. I can't do short videos, so they're going to have to be longer. And, you're going to have to find me on the way. Hopefully you listen to this and you're just like, what's the path that he went through? Because if you like the path that I'm going on and you think that, his life seems pretty peaceful, even though he can't do a lot of things, I got used to not driving. I got used to not working. I got used to the paychecks that I get every month. And you're like, I want a peaceful life and I don't want to be money hungry. Hopefully this video finds you.